Every day we jump and move around without ever giving a thought to what is actually going on in the body. We take simple actions such as drinking a cup of coffee or jumping onto a curb for granted. We rarely give a thought to what takes place during these actions. In this video, we will discuss what actions take place while jumping onto a curb. Starting in an upright neutral position, we will take a close look at the joints of the lower extremities, the hip, knee, and ankle during 3 phases: a squatting phase, a jumping phase, and a landing phase.
Phase 1, the squat phase. During the squat phase, the hips move into flexion via an eccentric contraction of the hip extensor muscles to control the rate and amount of flexion. The gluteus maximus, semitendinosus, semimembranosus, and biceps femoris elongate over the hip as the subject moves into hip flexion.
At the knee joint, we see an eccentric contraction of the quadriceps group. This elongation over the knee joint will control the amount of flexion seen at the knee. The muscles involved are the rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, and vastus intermedialis. There is also a concentric contraction of the popliteus muscle to initiate knee flexion by unlocking the screw-home mechanism that locks the knee into extension.
The ankle joint moves into dorsiflexion via an eccentric contraction of the plantar flexors to control the amount of dorsiflexion. The muscles involved are the gastrocnemius muscle and the soleus muscle.
Phase 2, the jump phase. During the jump phase, the hips move into extension. This movement is caused by a concentric contraction of the hip extensors. The muscles involved are the gluteus maximus, semitendinosus, semimembranosus, and biceps femoris.
The knee moves into extension via a concentric contraction of the quadriceps. The shortening of the rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, and vastus intermedius cause the knee joint to straighten.
The ankle goes into plantar flexion. This is done by a powerful concentric contraction of the gastrocnemius muscle and the soleus muscle. This strong contraction of the ankle plantar flexors is what lifts the entire body off the ground against gravity.
Phase 3, the landing phase. When landing, the hips return to a flexed position. This motion is caused by an eccentric contraction of the hip extensors to control the rate and amount of flexion. The muscles causing this action are the gluteus maximus, semitendinosus, semimembranosus, and biceps femoris.
The knee goes back into flexion. An eccentric contraction of rectus femoris, vastus lateralis, vastus medialis, and vastus intermedius controls the rate at which the knee flexes and resists the force of gravity.
The ankle goes back to dorsiflexion. The gastrocnemius muscle and the soleus muscle lengthen over the ankle joint in an eccentric contraction to complete this action.
Phase 4, the return to neutral position. During this phase, the hip extensors contract concentrically to return the hip to extension.
A concentric contraction of the quadriceps group returns the knee to extension.
The gastrocnemius and soleus shorten over the ankle joint in a concentric contraction to return the ankle to a neutral position. We stop to think about it. Simple motions like jumping on a curb are actually much more complex than what we thought. Although the curb jump may seem simple, it is actually way more complex than one would think. It involves movement both eccentrically and concentrically at the hip, knee, and ankle to perform this task. If we were to jump onto a higher surface, we would exaggerate both the squatting phase and the landing phase to show the importance that those muscles have in both phases contracting eccentrically and concentrically.